his audio, so I hope he'll be able to connect soon so that we can also hear his views. So you've asked us to share on our thoughts on the existing Sino-Africa relations. And based on my experience, I think, and maybe some people are going to disagree with me when I say this, but personally, from my point of view, I feel like Sino-African relations are becoming worse, progressively worse, as opposed to getting better. But again, as I mentioned, that's just my opinion. And especially in this particular period where we've had the pandemic situation, of course, with the pandemic originating from China, there was a period where there was a lot of discrimination to Chinese people. And then, of course, now it turned to also discrimination to Africans with what we saw in Guangzhou. So for me, I feel saddened to say that I feel like from where I sit, the relations are getting progressively worse. I definitely hope things are going to get better through such forums and through what we're going to discuss here today. I hope we can come up with ways that we can improve these relations. But as from where I sit currently, I don't really think the relations are going as well as I'd like them to be going. In relation to my background and why I got interested to go to China, I actually decided to go to China for a very silly reason. And that's because I saw the Beijing Olympics. But then I can be forgiven, I was 17. So I was very fascinated with all the big, the big opening ceremony, how fancy it looked. And being a village girl from Nyeri, of course, it was very fascinating. And so that's why I developed interest in going to China. And then when I went there, it was kind of like a rude shock to me because I got to China and realized I did not like China, which again was very funny. So in the initial stages, I really had a hard time adjusting because it was not the way I think I had like a romanticized idea of what China was, and it didn't really meet my expectation. So for the first, I think 3 years of staying in China, I really, really hated China. And my husband should not hear me saying this, but I really did not like China at the time. But then gradually, as I began to sort of humble myself and really understand that we are from different cultures, we grew up differently, and how we were brought up, our background and our culture affects our behavior, I think I was able now to start gradually understanding China. And then, of course, I moved back to Kenya, got a job at a Chinese company where I've been since then, and and I have really had to learn and to accommodate other people just the way I'd like for them to accommodate me. So basically, I think that's my opening remarks, and I think we can move on to the next person. Thank you so much for that opportunity.
Right. Thank you so much, Karen. It's interesting to hear that at the beginning you did not like China, how things turn different, right? But it's amazing. But I also noted that you've said that you, from your side, you feel like the Sino-Africa relationship is actually becoming worse. That's your opinion, and that's really good to air. We're going to hear from the rest. At this point, I would like to give Norbert to get to hear from him. Norbert, you're welcome.
Oh, hello. So I'm having a problem with my video, but I'll just continue with audio only. My name is Norbert, and I'm always glad to see that whenever something like this is happening, so many Chinese speakers show up. I just love that spirit, and I like seeing the same guys showing up all the time, and it's good that the numbers are growing with time. Thank you, Faith, for this initiative. On China-Africa relations, personally, I think it all goes down to understanding each other's cultures. Most Chinese people coming to Kenya have certain presumptions about Kenya or about Africa. And some of them go to the point of verbalizing those presumptions. And that usually causes problems with the locals here. But again, even when we go to China, as Karen has said, you have a certain image of a place, and maybe sometime it disappoints you, or sometimes the place, or sometimes the place just isn't what you thought. So I think ultimately, right now we're in a period whereby most people are being ruled by fear, and they're going back to their basic instincts of protecting themselves and protecting whatever little they have. People are having some sort of nationalistic approach, but that should not lead to hostility, because there are many Chinese living in Kenya, and many foreigners who are actually Kenyans, and they are registered and all that. And Kenya has been known for its hospitality for a long time. It's been winning awards for hospitality. So I don't see why we should suddenly become hostile to some people from a certain place because of a few individuals who are not behaving in the right way. I think moving forward, the solution is always to call a spade a spade. If a Chinese is in Kenya and is doing something wrong, call it out. If a Kenyan is doing something wrong that's going to affect the Chinese and it's wrong, just call him out. We don't need to always protect Kenyans because we're in Kenya even when Kenyans are doing wrong, or the Chinese always protecting Chinese even when they're kicking Africans out to the street. Let's just try and maintain our basic humanness and Christian values, or whatever, that basic human value that makes you want to share something with someone or have an experience with them. Let's try and retain that even in this period where most people barely have enough for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Norbert. It's unfortunate that you're struggling with the video. We'd love to see you at least before before the end of this meeting. But I like that you're saying that it all boils down to lack of understanding of each other's culture. But I also like that you're saying that we need to call a spade, and to the fact that if I see something going wrong, with the Chinese, I should say it, and if it's on my Kenyan side, then I should still say it. And we'll love to hear more of that as we continue, perhaps even from the rest of us. Now, at this moment, I'm going to welcome Ruth Sarah. We'd love to hear from you on all this. Welcome, Ruth.
Yes. Thank you so much, Faith. Thank you. Glad to be here today to just, talk about this because it's very dear to my heart. I'm one person who has worked for 8 years in very many different Chinese companies. And I'll tell you, it's because of the strained SINO-AFRICA relations. That's why, for example, I walked out of SGR and they had to call my next of kin a month later, asking them why Ruth is not still coming back to work. My first job, I walked out of it, I think 7 months after working for a certain Chinese tour company because things were just bad, you see. And I realized that for us Chinese speakers, Kenyans who speak Chinese, we were being treated a bit better compared to the other Kenyans. But because of my convictions and what I strongly believe in, there's no way I can be celebrating while others are hurting. So that has been one of the major reasons why I've repeatedly walked out of many Chinese jobs. Like I was saying, for the first job that I went to, there was this Kenyan lady who had a diploma in tourism, and the Chinese guy had, I think, negotiated to pay them 9,000 for the first 2 months, and then the salary would double to 18. But when we got to the third month, he reverted on his words and insisted they were just going to still pay 9,000. So it was such a difficult place to work in. I thank God that now I'm in government and it's a bit easier. Things are better there. I feel, for me, when you talk of SINO-AFRICA relations, we have to look at it from 3 different angles. There's the personal relationship between us and the Chinese. There's the government relation between the Kenyan government and the Chinese government. And then I think there's also the continental one between different African nations and with China. When I talk of personal, I've met more than enough businessmen in Kenya who, I don't know whether you're hearing me or seeing me, but I was saying that I've met enough businessmen in Kenya who love the Chinese, and it's because of the direct benefits that they get from, good quality products according to them at very good rates compared to other places where they source from goods, and they have very fantastic relationships. Actually, if you tell those business people that the Chinese are bad and all of that, they don't understand what you are saying because of their personal direct relationship between them and the Chinese, who have really helped them grow in business. when you talk of the government one, between Kenya and China, I feel our government really needs to wake up, because we are seated on a ticking time bomb. I don't think we'll have even to wait for our children to get old enough for us to see the repercussions of this unbalanced relationship between us and China. We are taking huge loans. We don't have any, the government does not have any plans, according to me, on how they're going to, pay back these loans. I worked for SGR. I know how things were being run there when I was there. I don't think the Chinese have even any direct motive or intention to make enough profits to pay back that loan fast enough, as compared to their intention in bringing more Chinese to Kenya and having the opportunity to work in SGR. So it's a very balanced and strained relationship. The government does not care about us Kenyans who work for the Chinese. Several people have, gone before the courts of law to complain about how they were fired and all of those things. The government is not taking them seriously. I think the Chinese man has an upper hand in my own country, higher than me, which is really bad. But then when we get to the African continent, we see countries like Tanzania and Botswana, where the Chinese cannot do what they're doing in Kenya. Their government is supporting them, especially Botswana. I'll really speak for Botswana, because even for Koreans, Koreans I hear tend to work just like the Chinese. And in Botswana, you cannot dare do some of the things that the Chinese do to us here. Their government will deal with you as a foreigner. So for me, just like Karen and Norbert have said, the relationship is not good. And it's a good thing, Faith, you've created this forum where we can now come together, especially as Kenyan English Chinese speaking community, to see what to do to change this. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Ruth, I think you've really spoken very powerful points, which in summary, I'll say you're saying that we look at this Sino-Africa relationship in three different ways, where we have a personal relationship. How do I personally relate with the Chinese that I encounter, as well as a government to government relationship, and then continental African nations and how they really relate with the Chinese. I also like that you've given us examples like Botswana and so on. So would I just pose this question, and this may not necessarily be answered only by the panelists, but do you think the fact that many Kenyans as well as many Africans going to China to learn Chinese language or even to do other courses in China, do you think that this is going to really be of great help in bridging this relationship? Because we have many Kenyans as well who are coming forward and they're learning Chinese, some with different reasons. Like I've met Kenyans who want to learn Chinese so that they can hear if their Chinese counterparts are gossiping them or what the Chinese say behind their back. But then there are those who are learning the language as well as doing many other courses there in China because they're interested in seeing better relationships. So would we say the whole euphoria thing of Mandarin Chinese learning, is it gonna make life better? Is it going to create more awareness, or is it that we are just learning one side of the culture, but the Chinese probably may not be interested in learning the Kenyan culture or the whole African culture? What would we say about this? Maybe from my panelists or from anyone else?
I hope you can hear me.
Oh, yes, Bonnie. Thank God.
Yeah, sorry about the mischief. I was trying to get this fixed, and I think I'm good right now. Thank you very much for the platform, and it's a rich place where we can definitely share our experiences. And I have heard what Ruth has shared, and having joined, in the middle of everything, let me just go straight to what you talked about. I think whether someone is learning Chinese or Japanese or whichever language, yeah, it's a way of saying that I'm interested in breaking the barriers, right? It's a way of saying that I'm interested in what's happening on the other side of the fence. And therefore, you realize that whether it's someone who's learning a language, maybe to know whether they are gossiping or get a scholarship or to just be there and see that the bridge is built, there is definitely that part where it's a positive thing because they will you will be able to immerse yourself in their culture. And something that Ruth has mentioned when I was listening, she talked about the Chinese treating those who can speak the Chinese language slightly differently, without necessarily going straight to that and fully saying that is the case all the time. Let me take something from that and say, as long as you can speak a language that I understand, you understand, there is something about building bridges which comes with that. And I think that's is a positive thing. Now, I think whether the Chinese will learn the local languages or not, that might not be the center of focus. But of course, we know that some are learning Kiswahili and English. But I really think that whoever has both languages and understands their culture, there is just so much that person can use with that tool, so that person has a upper hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Boniface. Perhaps as we end, you'll be telling us about your whole experience at the SGR. But thank you so much. I'm glad that we can hear you now. So let's remember the rules to mute. And I can see from our meeting chat that Ruth Navasa from Uganda feels it's quite different and it varies from person to person. Perhaps, Ruth, I would invite you to unmute if it's okay with you and just share with us briefly your opinion in the whole language learning thing and the fact that you think it's not always true that when we learn the language we are bridging relationships and so on and so forth. Kindly, if you don't mind, Ruth. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, so like I already said in the chat, I really think that the interest of Chinese in African culture and genuine interest of Africans in understanding Chinese people varies from person to person, and like you cannot just make a general statement. And yet I really think, in my opinion, and I could be corrected probably by those who have more statistics, I really feel that there's more Africans who have probably made an effort to try and understand Chinese culture, to try and appreciate it. And I probably think it's because of the fact that in some ways, well, Africans are like the underdogs and the Chinese, are the power people. So Africans they want to benefit from the Chinese. And this is just in general terms, because of course there are Chinese who really love Africans who have made effort. But I also think that Chinese, generally speaking, have a superiority complex. And even where the relationship is really good, there isn't an appreciation, there isn't a genuine equality, like seeing this person is my equal in everything. I will treat them this way, I will treat them that way, I will treat them as my equal. But I really do believe that Africans going to China and learning the language, even learning it here in Africa, is very, very key to building bridges, to fostering good relationships. As other people have said, Bonnie, Ruth, I think when you know somebody's language, you speak their heart. you speak to their heart, and it's very easy for you from that step to, like, it's very easy to take steps then to understand them, you know, to accept them. But that said, Faith, you already mentioned that there are people who are going to China just to learn the language so that they can hear whether the Chinese are gossiping about them. So there's still very many things I feel that need to be dealt with. But in so many words, I think I've used so many words. That's what I can say in response to the to what you just asked about and shared. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you very much. I'm reading from Norbert. He says we need to improve power relationships between China and Africa. Our interaction isn't just about language and culture. Thank you so much, Norbert. I also read from Dennis, who says, why would you say that we benefit from China? Basically, it's the other way around. We only get the smallest part of the cake. Thank you guys for your views. Remember, we are discussing about the Sino-Africa relationship and how would we, you know, ensure that we are bridging bridges that will last, good friendships, so that we end the animosity, we end the hatred, and so on and so forth that has been prevalent, especially in this year, the last few months, among the Chinese and the Africans. Perhaps now I would like to open to everybody, would like to hear more people, not just sharing on the meeting chat. I would like to give the platform, if you don't mind, to Dora Ngolo, if you don't mind. You could share what is your perception in regards to Sino-Africa relationship, and anybody else who would like to speak something. I would love to see from the meeting chat, guys telling me, I want to say something, I want to say something, because when we speak it, it really makes sense. And then we are going to be asking ourselves a very important question, guys. Then what do we do? We've talked all this. Of course, this is the beginning. This is a first meeting. We will have more of this, but I want us to have in mind and ask ourselves, what do we do? And I don't want us to feel helpless, like we are not the government, so what are we gonna do anyway? No, I believe it can start from us, Chinese speakers especially, who have been in China. Others may not have been in China, but then they truly understand much of this culture and language thing. Others could be they've never done Mandarin, but they, in one way or another, interacted with the Chinese. So we are going to be asking ourselves, what then? After all this is said and done, what do we do? So kindly remember to mute as we give the next person to talk. I'm eager to hear from Dora. Yeah, welcome, Dora.
Hi again, this is Dora. So thank you, Faith, for this opportunity to say something about the SINO-Africa relations. Can you hear me? There's somebody who was not muted. Thank you. Can you hear me now? So I think for me as Dora, it all boils down to I as an individual. Because just as I think Dennis was saying, what do we have to benefit from China? And it is true, because when you look to other continents, all other continents are saturated. Africa is the only continent that does not have everything that any other continent has. We are worried about the Chinese coming to Africa. We are not worried and concerned when America sorts itself out, it will come to Africa. When the European Union sorts itself out, it will come to Africa. So it has reached a point I have noticed that the only thing we need to do as Chinese speakers is to empower our people. We need to start empowering Africans to understand that we have so much to give than to what we receive. Because we are not in government, as Faith said. And at the moment, I don't know if there's anyone in this platform who's in government who can say that the government of Kenya is concerned about its people. Just like Ruth Sarah has said, if our government does not care about us, we cannot expect somebody else to take care of us. We need to understand that Chinese people, when they come to Africa, they are coming to Africa to benefit themselves and to benefit their people back at home. Ruth, I believe I have noticed that Chinese people, especially the ones who have stayed in Kenya for more than 10 years, are the ones who are more concerned in learning about the African culture. But the ones who come here less than 3 years, less than 2 years, they don't bother. And the worst part is, those ones who are here for less than 2 years are the ones who mess up for everyone, because they're the ones who do not have the interest of learning about the African culture. So I've come to learn that we need to ask ourselves, empower ourselves to understand about the Chinese culture. We agree. But at the same time, empower the young people who work for those Chinese companies. And as you said, Ruth Sarah, business people have no problem with interacting with Chinese people because Chinese people see them as equal. If we are able to empower even that person who's going to buy small things from China and empower them to feel like they're the boss, that Chinese will respect them either way. Even if you're an administrator in that Chinese company, if you know who you are, that Chinese person will treat you with so much respect. So I have come to understand that government will not help us. Where we are right now and where the government of China has reached, let me be honest with us, it will not help. Where majority of African countries, where they are at this moment, they cannot help. Who can help us? It is I myself, understanding who I am, what is my reason of learning this language, and what benefit can I do in the small space that I have to benefit other people around me. Because as I think there's a time let me just give you an example of a situation I experienced. There's a time I was teaching one of these Chinese managers. They interact with the president, our president. And this Chinese categorically said, the main reason why Kenya is in the situation it's in is because your government does not care about you. They said it so clear. And if Chinese people know that, and if they have seen that weakness, let me tell you the truth, they will take advantage of it. If somebody can work in a company and paid 9,000 Kenya shillings, that is not right. And it's because they have seen that the government is not caring, so let me not even care about this person. But if we are able to empower that person who's being paid 9,000 shillings, if we are able to tell them that you are worth more, they can easily go to an office and try to bargain a higher price. But if we don't do that, we will be going around this mountain and we'll be discussing this for a very long time. And that is my worry. That is my worry. So yes, that is it. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you, Dora. Thank you so much. I see your worry and I perfectly understand. I was also wondering how long shall we discuss this? But I like that you're saying empowerment, empowering our people, because the fact is that China is here to benefit themselves. They might not necessarily, of course, be thinking about any African here. But it's the role of the government, to think about its own people. But in a situation where it doesn't think about its own people, then what shall those people do? I love the discussions also in the meeting chat. I would also like to give Nathan, I would like to give you a chance, kindly prepare yourself. But at this moment, I want to give Nelly, we would like to hear from you. You've said you have something to say. Kindly take the floor.
Hi everyone. I'm glad to be part of this meeting, and just to echo what I think some of us have said, it first starts with our own individual relationships with Chinese people, and I think when that one is okay, I think that the foundation is basically okay, then, you know, other, you know, bigger relationships can be better. But what I wanted to say is that also the media has a big part to play, because media is basically an agenda setter. So what we see and hear from the media shapes what many of us think about the Chinese, because I think many Kenyans don't have personal interactions with the Chinese people. And so what they hear and see from the media, whether it's social media or the mainstream media, shapes what they think, and what they like shapes their opinion. Let me use our opinion. And so if also the media can be involved in such discussions, and also ourselves as we use social media, and also other people as they use social media, what we feed for others to see, it really helps. And I would like to mention someone like Karen. I know we've not met personally, but I see what you post like on your social media platforms, on your Facebook, and I think it really helps to, you know, just, you know, telling your stories and all that. I think to some point it really helps to pacify some, you know, thinkings or bad opinions that some people might have. Yeah, so if we could have the media engaged in such discussions, that would really help.
Thank you so much, Nelly. Oh, that is so amazing, and I agree with you what Karen shares. Actually, I've also not met personally, like for real with Karen, but we've met on this kind of platforms, and I've always loved how she shares her experiences, and it's just so nice to see someone talking all sides, you know, from their own experience, what they feel. And I feel that social media, especially, is very powerful if we, in our own ways, in small and big ways, we would share and be very outspoken. When things are wrong, we say they are wrong. And when things are right, we also come out strongly and say they are right. It would help, you know, to pacify, as you've said, this whole relationship. At this point, because our time is really moving, we have only 15 minutes. I'd like to know whether Nathan, would you like to share with us something? And I'd also want to know if there's anybody else who would want to add, if there anyone with a question, and also the way forward. Yes, thank you, welcome.
Hi guys, thank you. Thank you everyone. First of all, Ruth, I'm really happy for you. And I like what I'm hearing. No, but thank you everyone. I want to say something that, please hold on. Let me deal with this, Jana, just 1 second. Baba, I'm in a meeting, so okay, let me finish. Yes, so Norbert and I walked out of work, yeah, that is around 2014, thereabout, and we are the change that needs to be seen in this country, matters Chinese speakers. I remember a day also with the cabinet secretary of tourism. I raised the point. I was never paid for that job, but I don't care. But today, I'm happy that the government realized, hiya, we have Chinese speakers, and these guys bring in translators, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, change begins with me. And I thank you, Faith, for this initiative. Most guys are suffering because someone has a briefcase company, gets clients, comes to them, gets guys from China, wanaenda Mara, come back, get money, takes back all that money to China. Yeah, there's really a lot to talk about and say, but I just want to say that change begins with me, and this now is change. And yeah, I like what I was surprised at what Ms. Liang said, that the relations are becoming progressively worse. I didn't expect that from her, having been married to a Chinese, but that's the reality. I'm a banker, so I meet these guys every day. These guys are cleaning money left, right, center. These guys are selling masks to us. Those should be us selling masks to Kenyans. These guys have diverted from their traditional businesses. They're bringing this protective clothing, sanitizers, and no one is saying anything. I mean, it's a high time we start questions like, there were donations, zilipotea kwa airport, zilienda wapi? Yeah, so I think it's a high time, guys, we get off our heads from the sand. Tuamke, and wherever you are, stand up and, you know, fight for your rights. Fight for what you know. Fight for the truth. Now, something very funny is that these guys know the rules and they know the law, and they just choose not to follow the law. As I end, I'm going to say something very dangerous, and this is affecting Boni, Miss Liang, etc. We all know about the SGR thing, yeah? I have a friend, he's a really, really rich guy. He's bought a hotel around Milimani. That golf park, railways, it's bought by the Chinese, yeah? These guys are being sold left, right, center, our country, yeah? What are we doing about that? This loan, if you Google right now, just Google Chinese interest in Africa. Everyone is talking about the debt. Are we really seriously going to sit and wait for the bomb? Thank you, Faith. Thank you, everyone. I'm really honored to be here. I want to be part of this change. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. I feel you, Nathan. I can see, I don't know whether I should say it's a mixture of a desire to want change plus some bitterness. And I believe this would resonate, you know, to many people. That feeling of, what is happening? What are we going to do? It's there in many people, and we must do something about this. The most unfortunate thing is that our time is coming to an end, but like I said, this is just the beginning, and seeing more than 20 people in this platform really tells me the desire we have to see better relationships. But I think what are we saying, or what is everyone saying, is that we really need to do something, but we really need to feel empowered, because Kenyans, we are so, especially the Kenyans here, because I know there are some who are not Kenyans, but we are so good at hiding our heads inside the sand, as Nathan has said, and just assuming that nothing is going on, like everything is okay, yet everything is not okay. If Chinese could be here and they're selling masks, yet we know that we have Kenyans have also been making masks, and they should be the ones being empowered for this. But if the Chinese can be the ones doing all these things, we really have to do something. We must do something, because it's one thing that we love and we want to engage in their language and in their culture, but we also must feel empowered as Africans and know that it's our time to stand tall, and we cannot continue selling our country as it has always been happening. Now, I don't want this to turn to be a political meeting, lest we find ourselves in custody tomorrow. But I see Henry has raised his hand. I would really want to give you a chance, Henry. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much for the nice discussion. I know we are coming towards the end of the discussion, but I wanted to say this. I think what we need to do as people is, we say that the language is a tool that empowers you to do things differently. So I think as Kenyans, we need to have some mindset change on why we study Chinese, or even why we go to China. I think learning the language is just less than 5% of the benefit you get from when you go to China. You're going to look at how they have turned around their country. Look at the work ethics. look at the opportunities. What is it that is there in China and it's not here in Kenya? Look at what is here in Kenya, but it's not in China. Establish linkages, invest in social networks so that you start working with Chinese, not working for Chinese. So I think I would only advise our members or Kenyans that they should focus on learning the language so that they work with Chinese, but not to work for Chinese. Because some of the frustrations we are getting is because we want to work for Chinese and you get frustrated. Today I saw in the newspaper, Kenyatta National Hospital has given Kitui Kikotech an order for quite a, not it's actually Kenya Power. They've given them an order of so many, I think 1 million masks, is it per month? So you can imagine if we as Kenyans who have been in China, we had really come together to even set up a production or even to import this mask. We would also be selling this mask to government institutions. So I think we need to start thinking about doing things so that when we are really negotiating, we are negotiating from saying, I have this, I need an opportunity because I can do this, I have this. I think that will really be more beneficial for us if we move in that direction. Thank you.
Wow.
Lastly, I would like to say that normally it is easy to change yourself than to change people. You might not be able to change the Chinese, how they look at you, but you can change the way you look at the Chinese. You look at them as opportunity to do business with them. I think that's much easier for us and more beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe that Henry is Dr. Rotich, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I've just related your face because I've seen your face many times, and I'm really, really honored that you also attended this meeting. Thank you so much. And I really like what you're saying, a change of mindset, and that it's always easy, it's always easy to start changing, ourselves. We got to change and not just thinking of changing the Chinese. But I also like that I like what you're saying, that it's a high time. We thought that we should not be thinking of working for the Chinese, but we should be thinking of working with the Chinese. I think, wow, this is, it's an ending, but it's very powerful. And I believe we will pick it up from there next time as we ask ourselves these fundamental questions on how do we forge the way forward. And I think this, and I believe what you have said, Henry, is very important. Change of mindset, where we are bringing things on the table and we are also saying, I have this, I can do this, and the collaborations to be very positive. And then perhaps then there'll be respect that will come naturally out of the fact that we also are feeling very empowered and we feel we can also do this, and it doesn't have to come from the next person, but we'll continue from there. Now, I'm seeing our meeting chat is really getting hot with discussions. I like what Noella is saying. She says her thoughts are, I believe we stand to benefit equally in SINO-AFRICA relations. However, we need to make sure that most people in our society have access to the benefits of this relationship and are able to improve their basic standards of living. I believe Africa is a rich continent full of poor people. However, the lack of proper policy implementations, and this leaves us vulnerable and at the shorter end of the stick. Thank you so much, Noella. I also like, Ruth, what you've continued to say. Okay, Ruth is agreeing with Mark, who had proposed that we need a union that is voicing or fighting for our rights. But perhaps this is also something we'll get to understand next time in our next meeting, because we've also seen that sometimes it may not be easy to change the Chinese, but how about change beginning with us? Dennis also says that it's all about beliefs. We just need someone at the top to change the dynamics of the relationship. This is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. I really like the discussion, and it's sad that we are coming to an end because we need to still keep time, 7:30 to 8:30. And Elizabeth Mahita says we have a long way to go. We have to first accept one another, especially in the IT sector. Thank you so much. And you know what, guys, I don't feel like ending this, but I believe that we will have this, and then we are going to now, you know, come up with ways to forge ahead in a very positive way and see how we are going to build better relationships. Personally, I'm so enthralled and I'm so passionate about creating better relationships. I think I agree with Dr. Rotich that I want to be a person who will be saying, I have this on the table. What do you have to say about it? I want to have a change of mindset because I believe everything begins from the mind. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to ask, is there anyone who has a very hot thing that they would want to say? Otherwise, I would like us to end. It's unfortunate we are ending this way. But perhaps quickly, could we have everyone saying, are we so many? Oh yeah, we are 25. Let me end with my panelists. Just saying one word. They will represent all of us. Let's have the 4 panelists. Could we begin with Bonnie? What are your closing comments? Then Karen, and then Norbert, and then Ruth. And then we will just assume this is what all of us would have wanted to say, and we close. Please, Bon first. Closing comments.
All right. Thank you. Now, it's been very rich, and this is what we realize we do have many loopholes, and every time there are loopholes, of course, there are those who will be very quick to use them to their advantage, and that's what is happening. So I would really think that where we are right now, we need to empower not just ourselves, but our fellow Kenyans. And I think this is the right platform to do the empowering. So going forward, I see this platform being a place where we talk about what is truly happening, and not necessarily getting political, but I think it all starts with bringing out the truth and sharing them intentionally. And therefore, that way we'll be able to correct some of the misleading media reports. And going forward, being able to just bring the experiences and share among ourselves, and yes, we can make the government, by bringing out these truths, make the government, of course, to change some of the ways that, you know, are not right, and they are throwing Kenyans under the bus. Yes.
Thank you so much, Boniface. Kindly let's have Karen giving us the closing comment.
So for me, Faith has already told us not to make this a political forum, so I want to apologize in advance. But what I'd like to say is, most of us are saying that we are not in government, so we are not able to really make changes at the top there. But the question I'm asking myself is, why should we give government or politics a wide berth? Let us not be afraid of joining politics or government, because personally, I think, for example, if we had somebody who has background in maybe economics and also has studied Chinese, and they're present at these negotiation tables where we are normally hoodwinked and lied to, if they're present in those kind of forums, then we will not really have these deals that are signed that are so lopsided only to favor the China side, and we are not being favored. So let us, okay, I know that politics in Kenya is really a dirty affair. Most of us kind of just want to stay in our cocoons and not get involved. But I think that maybe there's people in this forum who could make presidents or governors or something like that. And we are in a period in our country where we are talking about change. Because sometimes I've had the privilege of attending some of those high-level meetings, and you can find that maybe we have a discussion between China government and Kenya government, but because the Kenya government side maybe is made up of some people who don't really have any background in Chinese culture, which again is very deep, it really affects even the negotiation. Sometimes we actually walk out of those meetings without any progress because we've gotten to a stalemate. Hakuna mtu mwenye anaelewa the other person, At some point, we end up speaking, these ones are speaking Kiswahili, these ones are speaking Chinese, everybody stands up and walks out. But if we have somebody who's fluent in Chinese, who has background in our different fields, economics, accounting, and so on, international relations, if we have people with that background, and then they also have the added advantage of Chinese, now being in government, we will be able to change things gradually. So let's not shy away from politics. It's Dora who was saying that these Chinese, they have noticed that we have a weak link in our government systems. If we have people who can speak Chinese, they're people of integrity, occupying those positions, that's one of the ways we're going to start making change. So thank you very much for this session. I'm very humbled to be part of the panelists. Initially, I wasn't going to make any notes, but what people have said has been so rich, I actually pulled out my big notebook and made notes. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Faith, for this. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. I also have a very, very huge notebook that I have beside me. I'm just writing everything, and I'm just, you know, I'm overwhelmed by everything that guys are saying, both verbally and in the meeting chat, and I cannot wait to see what is going to come out of all this. Kindly let's have Norbert giving us closing comments, and anybody else who has a closing comment, you can give it in the meeting chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For me, I think the biggest thing that we need to look at right now is we need to be selfish. We need to ask ourselves, as we are talking to the Chinese people or negotiating with them, what do we want for ourselves as Kenya or as Africa? Normally, we wait to be invited to forums like, I don't know, say China, Africa, trade something, and we just go, our presidents just go to receive money. That money, they don't know what to do with it. They don't have any plan for it. So we need to be selfish and ask ourselves, what do we need from these Chinese? What can they do for us? If, for example, you see they have more advanced technology, stop sending people to China to go and learn engineering for 20 years. To me, that's a waste of time. Take up one batch to China, maybe 5 years. The next batch, tell China in the negotiation table that we want you to build an industrial park in Kenya where you're going to be doing internships and things like that. We don't have a lot of technological transfer. As we speak, the Kenyans in the SGR cannot run the SGR on their own because the technology is not being transferred. So as Africa, we need to be a bit selfish and do what Trump is doing for the USA and do what is best for their own people. It might seem selfish, it might seem cruel, it will bring some friction with the Chinese, but eventually they're going to respect us and see that we are people who know what we want. And also on the legal side, we do a lot of things with the Chinese based on policy. When Matiang'i says a Chinese cannot do business, maybe in Gikomba, that's just him making a ministerial statement. There is no law saying that. And the Chinese are opportunist people, so they take advantage of such problems. So we need to have it set in law that a foreigner cannot not own this much stake in a company. A foreigner cannot be selling maize by the roadside, because some jobs we need to be selfish and save for our own people. That way, we can be better people on the negotiating table rather than just going to receive from the Chinese who have a strategic plan for 30 years or for the next 50 years. What is our plan as Kenya or Africa? We need to ask ourselves that. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Norbert. We need to be selfish as Africans and ask ourselves, what is it that we want for ourselves, and not just what we will get and you know, or give or something, but what is it do we want for ourselves. Now I'll give Ruth Sarah, kindly give us your closing comments.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you so much for this platform. One thing I want to say is that I feel people in Kenya who speak Chinese are extremely intelligent. You know, just sitting through this forum, people have very varied opinions and suggestions on how to improve everything, and they're totally all acceptable. And I really think if we are truly serious about this, because sadly for me, I'll speak for me as a Kenyan, we have this culture of talking too much and not doing. So we can talk, and then we don't implement, and that can really not really work well for us. So I'm really grateful and humbled to have listened to all the opinions that everybody had. They're all extremely, extremely good. Just one thing I would like to first of all say is that there's a little bit of hope, though it's maybe negative, but the last time I went to immigrations, while I was helping some Chinese friends to process their visas, one of the employees at immigrations just told me in confidence that the government is not as happy as they were in the past to really welcome them, if I should use those terms. Like he was like, these people, we don't want to see these papers here. Those are the words he used. So I think if the government has actually come to a point where they are, if truly what he's told me was right, if they've come to a point where they want to start managing the numbers, of Chinese coming in, then it's going to work for us. It doesn't make sense to have a Chinese come all the way to come and sweep houses in SGR. Like, I worked in the ticketing department where we had like 2 or 3 IT guys who just played video games the whole day. There was nothing they were doing, earning 4 or 5 times more than the rest of us. Yeah, when you start talking of all those things, you'll not sleep. So I think there's a bit of hope, if truly that is what is happening, that the government should start looking at how they're allowing the Chinese to come in. Only expatriates in. We have more than enough Kenyans that do not have jobs. And Faith, I want to remind you of this one thing. Martin Luther started with a dream, just like what you are doing, like what Norbert and Dr. Rotich are doing with even the Chinese business platforms. So you guys who can bring people together, don't see it as something, something that doesn't have an impact, or it's just a space to rant, but you can use all the safe ways to make sure that Black Lives Matter, if I should use those words, like, finally, Africans will be released from slavery, even here. Karen has said we can get into politics, and we can, there are varied ways that we can look into this. And let's not, tusijidarau. When people come together and they have a dream, they have a purpose, and they go for it, I believe it will go through. Just to finish up with the very last one that I'm extremely passionate about is the fact that we are looking at how to help everybody, which is so good. Coming up with policies to help the Chinese speakers, talking to government to come up with policies to protect the local market. Dr. Rotich has talked about us changing our mindsets from job seekers to job creators to, have a fair table to work with the Chinese. But I would like to say this to those of us who speak Chinese and are at workplaces. Please, for the sake of the other Kenyans who cannot speak Chinese, please speak up for them. Just find wise ways of fighting for your fellow Kenyan. Let it not just be about your own stomach, going to work to earn that 50K or 100. I doubt they go anywhere above 100 anyway. So we're talking about 50 to 100K per month, yeah? So instead of just focusing on that salary alone, I'm sure there's a way that you who can speak Chinese, you can really help, put in a word for your fellow Kenyans. So many times the Chinese ask us, how much do you see, like, for example, cleaners get paid in Kenya? Why don't you tell them the standard rate? For example, if you ever worked for an IT company somewhere else, you discover the cleaners they are getting 18,000. Don't sit in a company where they are paying our guys 5K and you don't tell these Chinese that what they are doing is wrong. We have ladies who get pregnant at the workplace. They don't speak Chinese. They're being harassed to leave their babies at home, or, not finish these 3 months that ladies, I don't know, have not given birth. So I don't know, that time of resting at home, you can remind them about the laws that these ladies is allowed to stay at home for 3 months. You can allow her to go home a bit earlier to go breastfeed and all of these things. Guys, some of these little things are what matter. Maybe these Chinese you are talking to and helping change their mindset about how to work with Kenyans may end up employing much more Kenyans, and the impact can go wider and higher. I'll just leave it at that. I think I have a firm belief on doing these little things that can also bring greater change. And while we are doing these little things, those of you at the leadership point, Faith, Norbert, Dr. Rotich, every other guy who, you know, you have this ability to bring people together. Please open your eyes, take all that we have said today, and we'll say in many more meetings. Let's not be afraid of even lobbying with politicians to change policies in parliament and every other place, so that we can bring a huge collective change and ensure that we have a level playing field for everybody concerned, that the Chinese can benefit and we also can benefit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth. I think as you were talking, I remembered a certain song. I really don't know it very well, but I remember a song that says black, black. I don't, there's such a song, you know, all about Black Lives Matter. And I know our panelists have talked, but as closing, because I can see, and I really didn't want us to go beyond time because I love keeping time, that this discussion has become hotter than I expected. I'd like to give Mark Nyangara a chance. I've seen he's raised his hand, but then I also want to give Dr. Rotich again to give us some closing remarks, because what he gave us was his comment. Since Dr. Rotich is also the chairman of the alumni, Kenya Chinese alumni, so I would really want him to close for us. And then we will wrap it there, guys, with those two. We'll continue another time. But Mark, kindly, would you talk to us?
Okay. Hi, guys. Oh, shit. Hey, guys. Okay, I'm sorry. And the panelists and the rest, that was just a typing error. I didn't have anything else to add, but I really like this meeting. It is so interactive and I've learned something. And I anticipate for the next meeting. Kindly, Faith, we should have more of these meetings so that we can discuss issues affecting the Kenya Chinese speakers and the SINO-Hydro relationship. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mark. Don't worry. So right now, I'd like to give Dr. Rotich to give us the closing remarks, and then I'll end. And we'll have had a very good 1 hour and a half. Thank you so much, Dr. Rotich. You're much welcome again.
Thank you very much. What I just wanted to say is I think as people who have studied Chinese, we have a better opportunity to impact in our society. One of the things I always believe in is, if you look at issues to do with, you have a mountain, and when you look at where we are now, we are at the top of the mountain, pushing a heavy load. Now, as Africans, which side should we be? When you look at, there's a lot of movement of labor, movement of technologies, and they're coming to Africa. So I think the possibility that we are going to expel foreigners is quite remote. So I think we need to look at how we can work with them, how we can be the ones who are driving the policies. When you go to Dubai, you will see there are a few indigenous people there, and their policies are quite good, protecting them. Say that you are a foreigner, you set up a company, the local has shares there, but it doesn't work there. So we need to look at how to work with foreigners, because going forward, it will not be possible to expel foreigners. Look at countries which have developed. They were developed because of immigration of people. And they put in place good policies to help them. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. And I think you are reiterating the fact that we need to look into ways on how do we work with these foreigners, how do we work with the Chinese. And you've said again, we need to see how to walk with them, work with the Chinese, and we work generally with all foreigners, because development also comes when we open up our doors to other people to come, and then we see how do we work together in growing our economies. Guys, thank you so much. You don't know how I'm humbled, and I really love this, and oh my God, I really thank God for giving us today, for giving us this opportunity, and that this opens up our eyes to know for a fact that we need another day like this one. And we will be calling you again, and please invite people so that we see into ways that we are going to walk, you know, all these fundamental issues that have been raised in this meeting, as well as in the meeting chat verbally and in written. I'm really glad that I believe it will take us somewhere, and I cannot wait to hear from us another day. For now, guys, I just want to say again, asanteni sana, sheshe dadia, and looking forward to seeing us next time. So bye-bye, thank you. You can leave at your own pleasure, then I'll close the meeting. See you again. 再见. God bless you, Dora. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Asante sana. Thank you, Eric Busiega. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, William. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Eric Busiega. Asante sana.
Sorry for having joined late, but thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Faith.
It's okay. It's okay. Next time. Don't worry. Next time.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you, Gladys. Thank you,
Yay!
Anthony. Thank you for joining. Thank you, El Mahita. Thank you, Denny. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Francis Ngacha. Thank you, guys. Thank you.